not coming back. Had enough? Because I can keep going. Brick by brick, dollar by dollar, body by body. Or you can call your boss and tell him to shut down his operation tonight.
When you look at me, what do you see? The answer's nothing. I have no feelings about you one way or the other. You're like lint or a bottle cap. You're just a thing to remove.
The men I killed, your men. I gave them a chance. They made their decision. I'm giving you the opportunity to make yours. I've done some bad things in my life. I promised someone that I love very much that I would never go back to being that person. But for you, I'm going to make an exception.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew. Welcome you back to episode 2 of To See or Not to See. The ladies are running a little bit late today. They'll be here shortly, but till they get here, let's kick it off and talk about the Equalizer. You just saw a quick clip of right after Denzel Washington pushed somebody's shit in and kind of threatened somebody else. This is an updated film version of a 1980s television show people may or not be familiar with. Deals with in the film, he's kind of like a ex-CIA, you don't really know officially though, kind of black ops specialist who basically is, living a normal life, but now he wants to help whoever he can out. So whoever he sees that is in trouble, he, puts it in place. He's the Equalizer. He takes these guys, brings them down there, and takes these people who are being punished, put them right back up here. The film's exactly what you expect it to be. It's can get ultra-violent at times, bloody, gory, a little slow in between those sections, but still kind of, capturing your attention at times. It's dark, and I mean literally lighting-wise. It's a very dark film. Denzel does a good job of, keeping up appearances, being that strong, tough guy that he can be, has been, and probably will be again. He's not an old man. He's definitely a young man, but, he's probably now in this, Liam Neeson stage of his life where he's the action star later on in his career. It's a slow film. It's probably longer than it needs to be. It's a little confusing also, as a lot of different situations seem to have all of a sudden cropped up in like a 2-day period. So whereas in the show it may be one episode it was one problem, or a double part episode was one problem, all of a sudden 3 different people that he happens to have contact with all have this issue, and right at the exact moment where you can see now where he's this killer of special tasks. So it's not a bad film. It's something that I would definitely say is better than the TV show was. I mean, I really don't remember the TV show that well. I was 5-6 years old at the time. Didn't really kind of watch The Equalizer when I was a kid. But it's still not gonna break your bank if you want to go see it. It's worth taking your time if that's the case. But don't go expecting to be put on equal ground with other films. But that's the best you can really say about The Equalizer. There's some surprise. I didn't look at the cast ahead. I didn't really. Chloe Grace Moretz is in the film playing a prostitute, which is unexpected at first. And then there's basically just a lot of faces that you may have seen before but don't know their names, or I don't even know their names, to be honest with you. But if you wanted to see or not to see The Equalizer, I'd say it's okay if you go ahead. Don't worry about it, but don't come crying to me when you didn't like it. But, while we wait for the girls to show up, let's take a look at the Boxtrolls, the next film we're going to be reviewing today. Hey everybody, look, Liz made it back, just in time to talk about the Boxtrolls, which you just saw a clip of.
So the Boxtrolls is Focus Features' new stop animation release. I really like this movie. It's funny from start to finish, all of the characters are interesting, the story is really adorable, and I think that the entire family will really resonate with this movie. What you're getting is a story about these creatures that supposedly invade a town, and they, terrorize families by stealing children, and every year they celebrate, not having the trolls around anymore, and it's really, really cute. It's very, a lot of the jokes are, I think, on an adult level, but not inappropriate adult. So that's why I think kids will laugh at the actual Boxtrolls themselves, but the parents, it's really gonna resonate with the older characters. I don't know, I didn't really find a weak link with this. I really like the Leica studio, because they gave us Coraline, I was a huge fan of Coraline. It was actually the first film I saw in 3D, and they did a brilliant job with that. So we saw the 3D version. And then they also gave us Paranorman, which is really, really interesting. So I found that you probably don't need to see this version in 3D because it's so beautifully constructed on its own. It didn't really add anything for me. But on the whole, I think it's very enjoyable, it's very funny, very, very pretty to look at, and the story is really, really cute, so I really liked it.
It's much like all of the other films, like Coraline and Paranorman, there is a thematic stream going through here that's, usually what people aren't trying to sell to kids, which I really enjoy, but I don't think it has as much weight as those other films did. But on a side note, though, there are a lot of voice actors here, that besides Richard Ayoade, there's Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. Ben Kingsley even is basically a main character. I didn't realize officially that it was Ben Kingsley until the end, even though it was probably kind of obvious if you look ahead of time, but I don't want to look ahead of time. So there's a lot of good stuff going on there that you can also kind of nitpick at that is like, oh, I really enjoyed that. While, kind of still being fun for the family, while also kind of punching home that message. Boxtrolls, I'd say see it.
Definitely see it.
I say even let the kids see it. It's made for them.
Yeah, bring the kids along. It'll be good.
But, as we said last week, we're also in the midst of our New York Film Festival press screenings. The festival is kicking off Friday the 26th, which you may be watching this on that day. We have a lot of things coming up for that. Gone Girl is the opening film. We have Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, Inherent Vice. Birdman, there's tons of them, but we have a few more to talk about right now. But first, here's a quick trailer for the festival.
I make films, that way I express myself.
There's a splendid cornucopia.
That's because I am bragging. Do you have any idea who I am?
Hey, what's up?
You are a 9-year-old girl.
If they want to get you, they'll get you.
All right, so that was the New York Film Festival. Let's start talking about it. And look who's back in time. It's Melissa, just to kind of give you the ropes of what we first saw.
The first movie we're talking about is Maps to the Stars. It's the new movie by David Cronenberg, and it's been making its round at the festivals. This movie was ridiculous. There's so many different people and so many different things going on. Maps to the Stars, so there's plenty of stars. There's John Cusack, there's Julianne Moore, who is amazing, and all kinds of other people that you think are cameos that don't even turn out to be cameos, to actually turn into real characters. But yet at the same time, you don't really care about them. There's no real story that makes everything come together and makes me want to know more. It just didn't work for me.
I completely agree. I didn't really care about any of these characters. I was interested most in Julianne Moore's character. I could have watched an entire film just about her character. Everybody else was just kind of odd and off, and I wasn't really sure what the point was. And John Cusack was kind of manic in his performance, and I didn't really understand why, and maybe it's because I didn't read the book, which the movie is based on, by Bruce Wagner. But I just didn't really get it. And the young kid that plays Benji, I actually thought his acting was kind of atrocious.
See, here's the thing. To me, it's supposed to be ridiculous. That's the whole point. It's playing a double entendre on the idea of, star maps, find out where the stars are, but it's literally saying, if you want to follow the map to start, if there's a map that tells you how to get to be a star, it's incestuous inbreeding. Hollywood is this hodgepodge of you screw that guy, screw this girl, do whatever they want, screw this person over, and that's how you make it. And it's basically just taking this very over-the-top look of showing you, that's what Hollywood is. It's very scathing. I mean, it's been done before, but the level this is kind of, really, kind of tipping over the top. And yes, it does feel ridiculous to me at times at certain things. Benji, this kid who plays Benji, I don't know if it's on purpose that he's so, kind of weird and horrible. There are some, we'll say special effects things that a little kind of ice of, this is kind of ridiculous, but I don't know if it was meant to be that way. But overall, again, it's Bruce Wagner, it was his book, but he adapted the script himself. Because, I was about to say, when I first started watching it, for a Cronenberg film, this is really funny. Laugh out loud jokes I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not saying, I don't know if I like the movie. I don't know if you should see it or not. I think it's definitely an interesting thing, especially now, a film festival kind of thing. Buy your ticket, go see it, and then kind of see what you think about it. Now's the time to do it. But we also, Liz and I saw today Time Out of Mind, which is Richard Gere's new film, which is this kind of pet project of his, I guess, since the 80s or something. Well, that's when the script originally was brought to life, and he's kind of been working on it for a while, where he plays a homeless man, in New York City, and he's kind of just following him through, these days of his lives, days of his life, I should say. And I felt that it was kind of, I just felt a little strange at first. I felt that, not that every homeless person has to be, this stereotypical visage of what people think a New York City homeless person is, but I see Richard Gere, he's got some bruises on his face, but he's got a silver white hair, and it's just the way they explain it, he didn't wash over for a while when you see him. This pet's only been homeless for, I think, for 20 years or something like that, the way the movie kind of goes into it. I may have missed it, but it just kind of took me out of it, and at the same time, I like what it was doing. It was kind of trying to be a little different for how it was saying things, but it was tough to watch for most of it. It felt like it was just drawn out, and I didn't really, I know he's going through problems, but it didn't bother me that much.
I actually really liked it. I thought it was an interesting take on the homeless situation, and I know Richard's been doing a lot of work one-on-one with homeless groups for, I think, about 10 years at least. So the way that it was shot, to sort of give people a little frame of reference, it's pulled back. So a lot of the audio in the film is conversations that are actually happening very far away from Richard. There's actually very little dialogue from him in the entire film. And I think the point of that was to really show how homeless people are completely invisible, which I thought was quite genius. I found that to be very interesting, very compelling. It didn't bother me. I liked the touches of where he's wearing 3 shirts and you can see the frayed edges. They're not super frayed, but you can tell if you were up close, you would know that he was homeless. So for me, it really worked.
I think again, not saying this destroys the film, but what bothers me a little bit is the fact that I still think I'm just looking at Richard Gere. I'm not looking at a guy who's I don't want to judge somebody's performance saying it was great because he had a lot of makeup on, but it's a difference between watching just Richard Gere and a bunch of clothing do something, between somebody kind of showing this deranged kind of, homeless person. Kira Sedgwick has a cameo in the film. Right. She is that homeless person. Yes. He's not.
Yeah, her performance is brilliant, and it took me a second to register that it's her, which is always wonderful. She is spot on, did her research, and she's not in it for very long at all, but makes a really beautiful impact.
It works on many levels, including the fact where it kind of got to the end, and I felt that maybe there was I don't want to say the word twist, but there was something that I kind of missed along the way. I don't know how other people feel. We won't ruin it here, but so I mean, there's something worthy in it. I still feel a little strange about it. But there's also a lot of documentaries that are going to be playing at the festival. So I think let's talk about a few of those. So yesterday, Melissa and I saw a Silvered Watered Syria Self-Portrait, which is a film that is both really powerful, based only on the images that it gives you, and at the same time a little strange because it's put together by a true kind of cinema auteur, amateur I should say, excuse me, who's kind of trying to be a little too artsy at times, and kind of got away from his original point, I think. And it's basically a film made up as a guy who escaped Syria during, the Arab Spring in 2011, living in France, and through footage he took from himself and footage from people who were, on the ground. I mean, you see, literally the things I never think I would see in my entire life. I mean, it's tough to take for certain people. Literal murder. Just like there's this scene where like they're dead bodies in the middle of the street and people are afraid to go out to get them, so they throw out these these 10-foot wire hooks, pull them in. It's one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. It's there are times that you see these images and you could not help but cry. It's something I think that everybody should see. Some people won't be able to stomach it. I don't know how you felt about it, Melissa.
Yeah, exactly. It was just jarring. Yes, completely. The images, you might catch here and there on the news, but this is the entire clip of it.
Yeah, it's the real deal.
Yeah, this is actually happening, and that it's hard to process, but it definitely has an impact, and it's.
I think it's also weird because we're seeing it right on, how many days after Obama decides to say that we're going to start arming Syrian rebels now. And so it brings up a lot of different feelings both ways. It's very strange, but it's something that we all sit here watching the news, like you said, seeing oh, that's horrible, these poor people. But then you see people being dragged down the street, and you see blood pouring out of their heads as it's coming down. It's it's horrific. It's I almost feel maybe this is this almost torturous seeing it, but you need to see it. You kind of have to see those things. But then, on a lighter note, Liz and I also saw Ethan Hawke's new documentary, Seymour. Is it Seymour Life?
Seymour in Introduction.
Seymour in Introduction, which I actually, it's been getting a lot of buzz from festivals lately. I felt it was a little, Seymour himself is an adorable old man. He's a piano teacher basically, and Ethan Hawke kind of met him through somebody else at a dinner, and he kind of took him on as this kind of mentor type figure, but trying to deal with his own problems and stage fright and so on and so forth. And it's great the things this guy teaches, but at the same time, I really am just watching a movie about a guy teaching people piano, giving out what he believes are life lessons, which they are, but it's a little weird. And then Ethan Hawke, who I believe is completely self-centered and puts the movie too much about kind of him, even the short amount he appears in it, and it kind of that bothered me.
I really liked it. I've spent a lot of time now with Ethan Hawke in person, which is crazy, through Boyhood and now this, and I find him to be very charming, very articulate, very interesting. He actually was just did a podcast on the Moth podcast where he talks about his stepfather, and I learned more information to sort of why he is the way that he is. And he is in this very little. It was intended to show Seymour Bernstein, so he is a piano teacher and also one of the very first concert pianists, very famous back in the day. You see him teaching master classes. So this for me resonated very personally because I went to AMDA, I went to school. This is what it was like for me. No, do it again. No, do it again. And in the same way of applying that to life, that's what I enjoyed was the application. So I think maybe the arena of music, maybe that's why it resonated with me personally, and maybe not a wider audience.
Well, look, again, talking about the film alone, it's like I said, when Ethan Hawke talks, a few times he talks, I just I don't know him personally, obviously, so I don't want to say that this is him. I'm not trying to judge him as a person, but it just seems like self-centered arrogance. And we had a press conference after, and he was late due to traffic. Nothing against him. He's literally stuck in traffic. So they start talking to Seymour, and Seymour is in the middle of telling a story, and then Ethan Hawke runs down the aisle. Was "You talking about me again?" I'm come on, guy. I understand we're gonna say it again, and you're here to be part of this, but I was actually interested in what he was saying, not you yelling about yourself on the side of the thing. It's wait till you get up on stage, get yourself centered, and then let's talk. It's just
he did apologize.
It didn't sound like it. It's just again, that's just one instance talking about how And they admitted, like, during the press conference, the idea was, like, yes, this is kind of, I made the film kind of try to help me out, and I get that, that's great, but you call it, you know, Seymour an introduction, and really it's more of just, like, here's this guy is interesting, but here's how he's helping me out, you know? It seems weird. It bothered me a little bit.
That's why I like it.
There were some beautiful things in it. There were some beautiful things in it, but I you know, see it, but, you know, don't go rushing out to see it.
I say see it, especially if you are musically inclined or artistically inclined or have some sort of passion where at some point you've been, you know, worried maybe I'm not good enough. You might find inspiration in this movie, so I say see it.
Or if you're anal retentive. Pretend I didn't say that. Anyway, thanks again for joining us. We'll be back next week. Again, you know, with the festival here, we're about to see Gone Girl, which is, you know, the big holiday, right? It's not even officially the holiday season, I guess, in a way, but this is it. This is kicking everything off.
Yeah.
So we'll be back with that and others, and you know, we hope to see you soon. Thanks again, everybody. You really thought that you don't think him as arrogant?
No,
Like,
I find him charming.